Hello girls, good evening to all. Welcome you all for my English class once again. Today we are going to continue the yesterday's topic, that is communication skill. So in that part we are going to see first types of communication. So first of all, what is meant by communication? Communication is simply the act of transferring information from one place to person or a group to another. This is called the communication. The imparting or exchanging of information by speaking, writing, or using some other medium. The successful conveying or sharing of ideas and feelings is called the communication. In that, we are going to see the types of communication. First of all, normally communication divided into two types. One is a verbal communication, another one is a non-verbal communication. First of all, what is meant by verbal communication? Through the words, the spoken words is called the verbal communication, orally, and in the printed form or in the written form is called the verbal communication. So here also you can able to see that verbal is divided into two, that is oral and written. Spoken words as well as oral language is called the verbal communication. The next one is a written, that is a printed form like a magazine, books, emails. Those things are coming printed form. It will be able to read orally. It is called verbal communication. The next one, it is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is nothing but body language. Simply we can say that body language. That means facial expression, gestures, postures, these are all coming under the body language. Even you can take a way of dressing, way of behaving. It's all coming under the non-verbal communication. It's called body language. Next, we are going to see in this video is verbal versus non-verbal communication. So, in this lecture, throughout the lecture, we are going to see that verbal and non-verbal. Verbal communication using a spoken words. Non-verbal communication without or in addition to spoken words. And next point, verbal best used. Series of controversial topics in non-verbal written form. Disagreements are when emotions are involved. Those things we are in non-verbal in the body language form. Third one, first time explanation with written. So, in the non-verbal, we can see that in parallel language form. First of all, what is verbal communication? Verbal communication describes any type of interaction that makes use of spoken words. Verbal communication takes place when spoken words are used to transfer information and understanding from one person to another. So, verbal communication, it describes any type of interaction that makes use of spoken words. And another point, verbal communication takes place when spoken words are used to transfer information and understanding from one person to another. So, when we are sharing our information through our words with the spoken form, one person to another person is called a communication. Verbal communication is the use of sounds and words to express yourself, especially in contrast to using gestures or mannerism. That means non-verbal communication. Instead of showing a non-verbal communication, an example of verbal communication is saying no. When someone asks you to do something you don't want to do. So, what you will say, how you will react? First of all, you will react in the verbal communication form. That is, saying no. This is verbal communication. Now, the verbal communication. Words are used to exchange information. This can be in person or by telephone and can be written or oral. So, in the beginning of the video itself, I said verbal divided into oral as well as a written. So, here I am just showing the different form. Okay. First of all, written communication. Reports. The written form reports. In oral, we can expose face to face. And second one, in the written communication, memos, we can orally communicate through the telephone conversation. In written form, written communication through emails, we can orally communicate through dictating letters. Written communication in the form of fax, it will be orally communicate with group discussions. The last one, illustration. It is in orally it was considered meeting speech. So this is the difference between a written communication as well as a oral communication. Both are coming under the verbal communication, but in different way. There is a different type of non-verbal communication is also there. First, we are going to see here advantages of verbal communication. First point, more personal and informal or formal. Second point, makes immediate impact. Third point, provides an opportunity for interaction and feedback. Fourth point, helps us correct our message according to the feedback and non-verbal cues from the listener. Last point, it's very fast and non-expensive. In this slide, advantages of verbal communication. We can quick and flexible. We can cheaply understand. Misunderstanding can be clarified immediately. Can be supported by non-verbal methods of communication, such as the use of body language also. And some of the points about verbal communication, it is an advantage, more personal and informal, makes an immediate impact. It provides an opportunity for interaction and feedback, for conveying a feelings and emotions. Gesture and facial expression can be used to reinforce on a oral communication, oral message. Now next one, what is non-verbal communication? Nonverbal communication involves those nonverbal stimuli in a communication setting that are generated by both the source, speaker, and his or her use of the environment, and that have potential message value for the source or receiver. Communication not involving the spoken words. This refers to as a nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication involves sending and receiving messages through gestures, body language, posture, facial expression, clothing, managing time, etc. So, the nonverbal communication is here. It's conveying a message through gesture, body language, posture, and facial expressions, clothing, managing time, etc. So, how it is possible means it is very easy to understand. Just for example, you see somebody is wore a new dress. Through that, we can understand she she have some program. That's why she came in a new dress. Okay, so through her dressing style, we got some message. And then one more example. When we greeting someone, they didn't reply because we have to understand through their expression, their mood was something disturbed. That is called facial expression. Shall I say in simple way, non-verbal communication, we speak only with our mouth, but we communicate with our whole bodies. That is non-verbal communication. So now, next, types of non-verbal communication. Eye contact, eye-to-eye contact, gestures, smile and facial expressions, posture and body orientation, tone and voice of speaker, body language or movement, closeness or personal space. These are types of non-verbal communication. Now, next we are going to discuss formal versus informal communication. First of all, we have to know what is meant by formal, what is meant by informal communication. In communication style, there are two types of styles. One is informal communication, next one is formal communication. First, we go with informal communication. It is rigidly structured. That means there is a less importance to the structure, rules. Informal communication is more richly structured. That means it gives more importance to the rules and regulation while in a formal. The second point has a more relaxed tone in informal communication, but in a formal communication has more formal tone. We have to more concentrate while speaking a formal tone. Use more casual language in informal communication, but informal communication uses more standard language. Place less emphasis on correct grammar and spelling. In an informal communication, according to the situation, that means it is a less important, not a more important, giving on correction of a grammar and spelling. But in a formal communication gives the place higher importance on correcting a grammar and spelling. In informal communication is used mainly with peers and other people you know well. That means informal communication mainly with peers. That means those who are present with us, present age, same age. Okay, mostly we know well the people. We go with that informal communication. Informal communication is used mainly with non-peers. That means with unknown person, those who are not familiar with us, the people you don't know well, as well as those who are senior compared to us. We have to go with formal communication. Is more likely to be needed to personal situation in informal communication. Informal communication is more likely to be needed in business, career, or educational situations. We have to go with formal communication. Simply, shall I say in another way, informal communication. When you are communicating with your friends, that is a informal communication. When you are communicating with us, teachers or professors, those who are senior to yours, that is formal communication. The next one, communication is defined in two categories. Already I told you the communication is divided a formal communication or informal communication. First we are going to see formal communication. A formal communication refers to communication that is a part of communication required to do one's job. It is official information exchange. Example, emails, memos, letters. And then formal communication is divided into three parts. That is downward communication, upward communication, horizontal communication. Downward communication where information moves from higher management to employees. That is downward communication. Upward communication where information moves from employees to higher management is upward communication. Last one, horizontal communication where information is shared between peers. That is horizontal communication. So, official information exchange through the emails, memos, letters. So, this is communication in formal way. Now, move to the informal communication. Informal communication occurs when people come together and talk about their working conditions, family, co-workers. Rumors, gossip are the example of the informal communication. Those among friends, they are talking, it is informal communication. Informal communication, it's a private, emotional, one-time, immediate, a flexible information, as well as it is a spoken language, metaphorical. Differences between a formal and informal already I told. Once again I'll repeat. Informal used in a professional setting, example forms. In informal usually used with friends and family. Informal is a no slang, but in a informal contains shortened versions of a words. Example, we can say through that good morning, but nowadays we are messaging GM. That is a informal. But in a formal we have to use in the full words. Pronounce words correctly in formal communication. In informal communication contains slang words. In that time how we can react, it is easy to describe in an informal situation. But in a formal situation, we have to be very clear and we have to be follow the rules and regulation. Informal communication A casual form of information sharing are typically used in personal conversation with friends or family members. Within a business environment, informal communication is sometimes called the grapevine and might be observed occurring in conversations. Electronic mail, text message, and phone calls between socializing employees. Informal communication consists of information shared without any family imposed obligations or restrictions. The grapevine refers to the pathway along with unofficial information travels. Rumors are messages that transmit information that is almost totally without any basis in fact and is unverifiable. The next one, written communication. In written communication, written signs or symbol are used to communicate. A written message may be printed or handwritten. In written communication, message can be transmitted with mail, letter, report, memo, etc. message. Message in written communication is influenced by the vocabulary and grammar used. Writing style, precision, and clarify the language used. Written communication is important for school, work, and everyday activities. In the workplace, written communication skills are needed for writing emails, office memos, reports, and business letters. Some people have difficulty putting their thoughts into words. Other people find it easier to communicate by using a written communication skill. Written communication skills can be improved through a practice. Reading newspapers and books may help improving writing skills. The written communication, which takes place with the help of written material and by usage of words in the written form. Silent features of written communication are as follows. Most formal type of communication. It is used for documentation. It is used for circulation of information. Presence of both sender and receiver is not necessary at the same time. A creative activity. Here I am once again going to recall the difference between a written communication and oral communication. Written communication refers to transmission of message through written words. In verbal communication refers to convey one's of message through spoken words. Written communication is time consuming. In verbal communication saves time. In written communication can be in forms letter, circular, notice, handbooks, reports, etc. In verbal communication can be in focus of meetings, lectures, intermissions, etc. It is difficult to maintain example. It is difficult to maintain a complete secrecy in case of written communication. And secrecy can be maintained in case of verbal communication. Now you just take our today's situation. We are all in going with the online classes. So mostly all the classes are verbal communication. I'm right. And then some of the follow in the written communication. That means in the form of sending a note in the written form. It is in the printed form. I hope I hope you understand the difference between written communication and verbal communication. Once again, I'll repeat, written communication is very common business situation. So it's important for everyone in an organization, from the employee to the chief executive office, to develop a effective written communication skill. Even if you are writing an exam, when you are creative in your writing, when you are written a correct and in effective manner, you are going to appreciate. Absolutely, your exam result will come in a good result. So, written communication and verbal communication as both are important. So, in the written communication, to be effective, written communication should be how it should be effective. A completeness. When you are writing, your writing should be complete, and your writing should be in a clarity and in a correctness, in a form of a correctness, conciseness, and courtesy. These things are make your written communication more effective. I hope you all understand the difference between verbal and non-verbal communication and written communication. So, thank you for watching and thank you for listening. If you have any doubt, ask in the comment section. Thank you, girls.